Whether you want to draw cards, take out opposing characters, take apart your opponent's hand, draw even more cards, ramp your ink, draw a ridiculous number of cards, or blow up the world, in Lorcana, songs are how you do it. They're really powerful spells that we can cast for free, and there's only one thing better than free spells: more free spells. My name's LD, and in this video we're going to have a look at how the new Ursula performs in an Amethyst tempo shell. Okay, so here's an overview of the deck list, and I'm just going to put this up here for a moment, and I'll share the Dreamborn link down below in case you want to dive in and have a look, tinker yourself. But the easiest way for me to present this in a video, I think, is probably just to have a look through the list on Pixelborn, and I can talk through each card choice in detail. So, deck plays 10 1-drops, and I've settled on 4 Cursed Merfolk. It's a really amazing, aggressive character in these colours, and the sort of discard makes this the best Lilo effect we've ever seen. It's kind of a slam dunk for a deck like this, even because it's uninkable. It's that's no real problem at all. And then also in the 1-drop slot, we're playing 4 Chernobog's Millions. That's pretty versatile, 2/1. It's going to draw us a card a lot of the time when we need to just keep cycling it through. You get to play make your turn 1 play. Challenges Pluto as well. You have your little quester there to go, and you can cash it in for a card when you're ready. And also a couple of Rafikis, which is really important for fighting back against a lot of the aggressive things out there. There are a lot of location-based openings for some of these decks now that need something that's capable of punching for 3, and this kind of, he's essentially just a Captain Hook for us, and that's not a bad place to be. It's a fine character for filling that role. Just playing a couple of those, I don't want to be on too many, because later on he gets significantly worse in my experience. In the 2-drop slot, we've got Flynn, again, performing a similar role to Cursed Merfolk, opening up with a really aggressive curve is possible with Flynn, and you're just forcing your opponent to make tough decisions about what they discard, that sort of thing. We're not all in on discarding, it's just kind of helps us maintain tempo and helps us keep pressure on our opponent's hand as well as the board. And in a similar position is Ursula, also in the 2-drop slot. Probably just going to become a staple in this kind of position for decks like this and many others, and performs a really important role of taking away whole new worlds, be prepared, that sort of thing. Very versatile. We're rarely mad running it out on turn 2, and it's also well positioned later in the game on critical turns. We've then, in the 3-drop slot, this is kind of where the deck really opens up. The most critical card is Ursula, Deceiver of All. She enables the biggest swings for the deck by singing the 3 songs that we play, which are Friends on the Other Side. So when you sing this with Ursula, you're going to draw 4 cards, which is an incredible swing in the game. Mother Knows Best. When you sing it with Ursula, you're going to get to return 2 characters to their player's hand, which again is a gigantic tempo swing and something that players struggle to recover from. And the final song is Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. 2 copies of this. When you sing it with Ursula, you're going to get to return something twice and replay it twice. So that might be late in the game. You might be doing that with Genie and returning 2 things. You might be doing it with something like Goat and gaining anywhere between 4 and 6 lore. Drawing a bunch of cards with Rabbit. It's really versatile. Lots of good targets in the deck, but just playing 2 copies because it can be quite narrow, and there are certainly spots where you don't want one just sat in your hand. So that's what I've settled on with the song package. You can tweak the numbers, but that's where I am with that. Also in the 3-drop slot, we have Cloud Kicker, a good target for Bibbidi Bobbidi as well, but just a great tempo character in general. The deck quite frequently makes the incredible turn 4 play of singing a Mother Knows Best with Ursula to bounce 2 characters and playing Kit to bounce the last one, to completely bounce your opponent's board on turn 4, present a sort of line of threats, and just force them to deal with all of that. So it really helps push those big swings in a lot of matchups. Topping out the curve with Genie for the Emerald cards. Really versatile and really necessary at the moment for a lot of the big threats out there like Jafar and Beast. We don't have to permanently stop them. We should be well ahead before these decks start doing their thing, but we do need to pump the brakes sometimes and just reverse that critical turn. If they run a Beast Relentless out onto the board, for example, or if they run out a Jafar, don't do much. we get to sort of really swing the game back by just bouncing that, forcing them to take another turn off while we kind of finish our plan, which is just questing for the win. Some interesting card choices in the Amethyst cards here. You might notice no Snake. I think Snake is a lot worse this set, just because the pace of play is changing a little. And really in a deck like this, we want to be building a board that we can maintain multiple threats. It's not just about strength of singular threat on turn 2. We want a nice diverse spread of threats on the board, because we fight that really well with our bounce characters. So Snake is sort of counterproductive to what we want to do, even though it still has good synergies with a sort of full Merlin suite here. But, you know, dropping off, it was a difficult choice to cut Snake, but that's where I've gone. And we have Mim Fox stays because she's so powerful. Obviously, Fox is incredibly good on the draw in a lot of games. She's also really, really important for fighting locations this set. And then lots of things you'd expect, sort of full Merlin package. These numbers should be tweaked, actually. This should be 3-3 on Maleficent Merlin. I'll change that for the gameplay, but yeah. And that'll be reflected in the deck list you see. But that's where I'm at the moment, 3-3 on those. And the final card that's really important, Queen's Castle. Probably the best location that I've played with so far. Super impactful when it's played late game, and this deck actually creates one of the best opportunities to play it. So the big issue with these locations is, well, okay, when do I take the turn off to play it? It's great, obviously you gain 2 lore every turn, you're going to get to drop loads of characters into it to draw a bunch of cards, but when do you play it? When do you actually find the time to do something that basically does nothing right away? And well, the answer to that question is on turns after you've just bounced a bunch of stuff with Ursula or Kit, and you've got clear board control, you've got a couple of threats there. You can afford to diversify your threats by playing out a big location like Queen's Castle, and hopefully we'll kind of see that line play out in a few of the games that we play in a moment. But that's sort of the thinking. That's the whole list. Again, overall game plan. Play out a nice powerful curve of characters. Control the board by bouncing your opponent's stuff and making sure you always present a more threatening board than they have. And then just cleaning up with your standard sort of bounce suite and creating massive swings with Ursula. Again, the game is where you draw 4 with her are quite incredible. It's really hard to sort of fully articulate the impact that has on a game, but at that point it just enables you to start playing really recklessly with your aggressive cards and run them out knowing you have so many resources behind it. Totally changes the flow of play, so hopefully again we'll see that play out in some of the games. But let's jump into some games and see how it plays. Okay, so let's have a look and see what opponent we find for our first game. And it's an Emerald Steel, so got to assume this is a beast combo. I think there are a few different ways to play Emerald Steel at the moment, but beast combo is certainly the most common. This hand doesn't look too bad to me. We've got a pretty good aggressive curve here. I'm happy to just keep Cursed Merfolk Flynn Kit and an Ursula. Ursula's going to be pretty important for stopping some of their critical turns, and we draw a bunch of Flynns, which is fine. We can just ink them. And this curve's looking pretty good here, depending on what they run out, but I think we're happy with what we're seeing here most of the time. Interesting decision on turn 2, whether we just run out a Flynn or play our Ursula. I think we'll have to see what we see from them, if that changes our decision at all. Okay, I missed a Smee, so maybe a more aggressive build for them. And a Hook. So this is now going to kind of change the way we approach this. I think we slow down. We see 2 pirates from them that sort of semi-aggressive. I think we don't quest right away, especially with them going second. The value of this kind of hand control approach of trying to run them out of cards is certainly less possible with them going second. So I think no quest here. Just going to pass the turn back. And next turn we can Kit to bounce something from them, or we can crab our Flynn into their Hook and take a turn off, or well, not take a turn off, but develop and just keep things moving a little slower again. Hood is really bad for us, so I think this probably is a Kit turn on Hood, and then we force his Hook to decide which one of our characters he trades with. I am going to ink, again, a tough ink choice. I'm going to get rid of a crab. It might be wrong, but I want to keep 2 kits just in case we have to sort of keep the ball rolling on tempo here. So we'll kit the Robin Hood, and we'll just quest for 4. They might play an Ursula here this turn. Okay, going to replay the Hood, so I think, again, we will take our opportunity to... Okay, just going to quest with the Hook, which is good for us. We will take this chance to... Before we do anything else... Well, I don't know. No, we're going to take the trade with Kit this turn, so we'll play Friends next turn. We'll kit their Hood again. And you can kind of see how this deck plays, right? It's just... This level of board control, we know we're now threatening to quest for 6 next turn while they have nothing in play. It's risky, but I think we probably are inking an Ursula here. I'm going to do it, and then when I get Grab Your Swords played against me in 2 turns' time, it'll be my fault that we lost. I'm willing to take that responsibility. Next turn we don't necessarily have to ink, we're in a pretty good spot. Okay, Big Tink inked. 2 plays for them, they're going to play the Hood and the Smee. That's okay. We'll see some cards with one of our kits. A Bibbidi is good, we could Bibbidi to bounce their Robin Hood again. I think we're going to run out a rabbit here, sorry, and see what our extra card is. It's a genie, so we definitely are developing our ink here as we move towards that. Happy to ink a Chernobog's minions. I think what I'm going to do here is quest for 4, quest for 5. Oh no, oh no, I choked. I meant to bibbidi bobbidi the kit there rather than quest for 5, because now they're going to start seeing some serious returns with their Robin Hood. That might be a really bad misclick. I don't want to overextend. I want to keep an inkable for Genie next turn. I don't want to overextend to Grab Your Sword, so we'll sit like this. That's a real shame that I kind of made that misplay there. Yeah, they take their free kill on our Cursed Merfolk. Okay, a hardcast Whole New World is actually totally fine for us. And with them questing, yeah, maybe that mistake has just been completely forgiven then. I think we just, in this position, run out an Ursula so that we can... Oh, well, we didn't draw any song. Oh, well, they concede. Maybe they just don't see a way forward, or a bad Whole New World for them. Decline the rematch, so we'll move on. Okay, so running it back for game 2. And it's a Steel Amethyst deck. Probably Jafar. Probably going to notice a trend as I sort of think about these matchups. Lots of Jafar, lots of Beast. That's the kind of run of it at the moment. We have no 1-drop. We don't like to see that too much. We are looking at a sort of Ursula bounce line, so maybe the kits are slightly less important here. Against a Jafar deck, they have fewer targets as well, so I maybe send both of them back along with a Fox and Castle. Then we have this sort of high chance to get a 1-drop, 4 shots at one. We don't find one, which is a real shame. I think we ink one of our Ursula 2s here. Next turn we can think about inking the kit, depending on what they do. Again, real shame to miss a 1-drop, but good for us to kind of have a decent look at how it plays when there isn't one of those around. It will happen. 10 1-drops, you're not always going to draw one. You do want to be making a play every turn with this, but like I say, not always going to be possible. I think this is a kit position here. Let's have a look at what they're doing with Ursula. So it's a Jafar deck. We can take a Whole New World. It's one of their combo pieces. With the redundancy on having 2 friends on the other side, I think it's not worth taking one of them. Their line here is Jafar next turn, shift Jafar after that. I think we just take the whole new world and try to take out some of that combo potential, because they're going to be drawing a lot of cards anyway. It's kind of borderline, but I'll do that for the sake of not having to think so hard about everything, about the number of whole new worlds in their deck moving forward. So yeah, as predicted, they run the Jafar out, and this turn we will... There's no removal in hand for them when we Ursula, so I think we just run out our... We can ink a Deceiver of All here. Yeah. Let's ink one of them, play one. If they drew timely removal for it, that's, you know, well done to them. They're going to get to start playing Friends soon. That's one of the draws we didn't know about, a Robin Hood. So a Shift Jafar, that's understandable. And then they play their Friends. So, oh, that's a nice draw. Let's take a draw for... See what we find. This is great. We can now crab onto our Ursula to destroy their Jafar and play a 1-drop. Really good draw on the Friends on the other side there. This is going to protect our Ursula for a turn. I'm happy to ink a... Well, Flynn plays nicely next turn. We could play 3-drop, 2-drop. If we ditch a crab... ditch a goat, sorry. Oh, actually, I'm going to ditch a... really... So many tight decisions here. I will get rid of a fox just for the sake of playing fast. Not boring our opponent too much. And that was a really good turn, obviously. That's why that's where crab really shines, those positions like that, and the bodies that you have like Ursula, the 2-drop Ursula, really good for doing that sort of thing. A rabbit for them. Even though it draws a card, we're not above just, you know, just bouncing that rabbit. We could even just take our quest for 3, run out of Flynn. And maybe Flynn's just the ink here. I think I'm probably just going to ink Flynn and play the goat. We've got some good lines for bouncing goat a ton of times here. We could bibbidi bobbidi it this turn, which would be really over the top aggressive, but potentially slightly funny. We're hoping to... I might cash in our card here with Chernobog's Followers, knowing that it could be a Grab Your Sword. Let's just cash in for a card and see what this gives. Another Mother Knows Best, so... Okay, not amazing. Now... The Bibbidi Bobbidis are great on Genie after we do this. But with so many Mother Knows Best, maybe we don't need them all. I'm going to do this for fun and just kind of show you how this works. So Ursula sings Bibbidi Bobbidi, you target goat, you put goat back, you get to sing another copy of Bibbidi Bobbidi with Ursula, gain 2 from that movement, and then you do it again. It's just a quick 4-lore gain that it gives you a lot of reach. It's one of the sort of less impactful uses of Bibbidi Bobbidi, but in that space, when we've got both copies in our hand, I'm happy to do it and just gain 4 lore versus the 1 of questing with Ursula. It's not nothing. It's 2 in our hand is more than we need right now. But worth noting that if I didn't have these Mother Knows Best to bounce everything, I would probably keep it. For the sake of, you know, using it on Genie like we've said. So they run a beast out here. It's a great Genie spot. We draw an Inkable. We are forgiven our sins. Beast goes back to hand. And people ask me, why do you like Genie so much? Well, it's times like that. Let's just take the trade with our crab. I'm going to quest for 2. Our opponent concedes and declines the rematch. Again, it's going to feel with a lot of these games, like, I guess you're not seeing that depth of game, but the whole angle for this deck is to build that tempo advantage that's really hard for them to recover from. If they take their turn 5 off to play a beast and you bounce it and you're looking at questing again, drawing cards, bouncing more stuff the turn after, the concede is totally valid. So let's keep running some games back and maybe we get more games into this video if they are all short like this. Okay, so we're heading into game 3 now against Amber Steel. Again, another deck that you can play a bunch of different ways, all very valid. Might be a Tiana build, might be a kind of classic Steel Song build. Let's see what they're up to. I'm happy to get rid of a Queen's Castle. Mother Knows Best with Ursula might be a really powerful turn 3 here, because these decks, Amber Steel, whatever flavour they are, they tend to just play characters on curve in those first turns. If we get to bounce 2, that's great. We'll keep the friends as backup. I think we maybe just send one back here. There's a case for sending the Churnabogs back, but I don't want to draw an unlinkable. I will ink the Churnabogs for turn 1 and just get straight to work with the Cursed Merfolk. Next turn we can Flynn or we can Ursula. Might be worth Ursulaing here. Especially if they play a turn 1 Cinderella, then Ursula looks great. Whichever one of the two we don't play here, we're going to ink Queen. Generally seen more in those Tiana type builds. It's a Lilo. So these Lilo decks tend to be a little less song heavy. It's still a tough call. I think I'm gonna opt to just play a Ursula because we want the information. I'd rather know what they're doing. Okay, it is song heavy, it's a flute deck, and that's really good for us to know. They don't have a lot to curve into here. They're going to play a queen, they might run a flute out next turn. Let's take their... I think we're fine with them having a whole new world. We can play our hand out before then. No, that's a really tight choice again. I'm going to just take this, let the storm rage on. I think that that's currently their turn 3 play. We can maintain tempo before they get to whole new world. And I'm not going to quest here. I'm not going to give them the free trade with Lilo. But yeah, a really tight choice again. 2 different powerful removal spells in hand. But the difference maker for me there is just that I think that this looks to be like a flute spot where they play slow, they work towards playing their Robin Hood if they're able to ink other cards, and they just remove on turn 3 and 4. So let's invalidate that turn 3 play by taking it away, and we can work around the sort of whole new world. Maybe that just means we don't go for an Ursula Friends draw up here, we take different lines and just try to make the most of what they're doing. Okay, so taking the 3-cost spell there, feeling great because they've drawn a Cinderella. They have a good deal of board control here. They have a whole new world and along came Zeus in hand for the time being, plus 1 card that I either can't remember or don't know. Don't see a massive amount to do with Fox here. So I'm going to take the Ursula turn. And let's just... Well, maybe we just... There's a case here for questing with the merfolk so that we can start forcing them to exert some of their stuff and trade in. We have a really big bounce turn. We have that in that deck introduction. We have the turn 4 that I talked about where you get to bounce 3 characters. So actually, let's just chill. You can just sit back for a turn. No rush with this deck. There's no need to play super fast because you're trying to engineer these big swings. And we most certainly can do that next turn. Oh, flute. That was the card I forgot in hand. So yeah, here comes the flute. And you might be about to see one of the turn 4s that make people concede, because this is Along Came Zeus and Whole New World in hand. Both not great plays, run out on turn 4 and 5 with no characters in play. But that's the reality our opponent is facing. I'm going to not ink here as well. I'm just going to sing Mother Knows Best twice with Ursula. Play kit, quest for 3, pass. I don't want to ink my friends, because if they, do things that take lines that move them away from playing Whole New World, I want the option to draw my own cards. I don't want to rely on them to refill my hand. But that's a huge tempo swing, right? And I would have loved to have also made the ink there, but having the option to double bounce again next turn with this Mother Knows Best, or just draw 4 single bounce with a kit singing Mother Knows Best, it's all looking good. A second flute for them, and then I've got to assume this will be ink double 1-drop. Get them back into some sort of position where they can play a Whole New World profitably. Yep, as expected. We still know those last 2 cards in their hand. Oh, this could be very good. I think this is probably just a sing with Ursula. Let's draw 4. I say like that's not incredibly powerful. Yeah, I've got some choices here now. We could Ursula to take their Whole New World. But I think the play is this is probably one of those spots where we're certainly going to bounce, because we want to put pressure on them. We want to make it so they have to Whole New World. So let's bounce their Cinderella. That's the thing we would rather just have back in their hand. Although, if we just ink it, I don't know, it's another card they have to play or do something with to make Whole New World worthwhile. We're trying to engineer a situation where, from their position, they have to Whole New World, but they also have to play removal. So, we're questing. And there's a case for, again, as I say, playing the Ursula here, but I'm going to just... I think as we get higher ink, we've got more lines with Fox, so let's do that. Let's just play out Castle behind, because this is one of those spots, as I described, where you get to run Castle out behind your sort of variety of threats. And now we've presented this board where they have to trade into something. They're going to have to start clearing these characters. But they also have to kill our big location that's going to start drawing massive amounts of cards next turn. But they also have to build a board so they can Whole New World, right? So it's constraining them and forcing them to do these sort of contradictory things at the same time. And if they do play out a Whole New World, this is probably the best line for them here. They hardcast the Zeus on Ursula. They play that character. They get to flute for 2. But again, we're really fine with these things, because now their last card in hand is Whole New World, and we just get to Ursula it away. And choose what we bounce back. So we can... Is this the right play? I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. I think we just Ursula, take their Whole New World away. It's time to quest, certainly. Now we have a choice. We can play out a Maleficent, we can bounce something with Fox, or we can just send 3 things to Queen's Castle. And I think I'm going for that. I think I'm just going to opt for the line that lets me potentially draw 3. Really, really powerful card in spots like this. And again, you sort of see that impact of, we found the right turn to play it out where we had the spot to do it. We gained the breathing room. Now we present a very, very dangerous mix of threats. We simultaneously threaten to gain lore with characters, threaten to gain lore with our location, and threaten to keep drawing a massive amount of cards. There is no card that sort of cleans all of that up at once. So there's a lot of pressure on our opponent, and it'll let the Storm Rage on is a good start for them. They get to draw a card, take out our kit. which is kind of bad. Sort of, we would like to keep that around for the options for Bibbidying it or bouncing it with Mim. We're going to be getting close to 20 lore though. Good game actually, interesting game. Really interesting game. Okay, they trade with their Lilo here, so we will just pick that Lilo off and we're not too bothered about that. These Ursulas clean up the Lilo nicely, so we're going to be drawing 2, plus the card for our turn, plus gaining 2 lore. Pretty good, to quote another LD. And I'm just going to Fox here. Take this out. I might... I think it's probably much of a muchness. I'll play a value Ursula, which, you know, if they draw the right thing, they could just top deck a whole new world here, and then suddenly that play I've just made is really, really bad. I'll send a castle away for the sake of just sending this one here. Best chance of recovering a card. And Amber Steel decks, they do this. They just top deck the whole new world sometimes. But they don't in this instance, and that might be lights out for our opponent. They can take that Ursula out. We're about to gain 4 lore, go to 19. Fair few goat draws end the game here. And we don't draw the goat right now, but let's just take a rabbit. We're now in this really comfortable position where we can basically just say, okay, kill our location and all of our characters. I'll ink a Rafiki and play out probably in this spot that's actually the wrong way to do that. We probably should have inked the Chernobyls and played the Rafiki, just in case there is a Tinkerbell sort of thing coming, and it's a bare necessities for them, which is not going to do it. I don't know if flute is still something that you can be playing. I don't know if these flute decks are sort of... Is that card too slow? Is that card still all that it was? But an interesting, sort of short but decision-intensive game. I'm happy with this game. And nice to know that this tempo deck that plays are so dependent on making your early characters do a lot, that it has game against Amber Steel that's thing is early interaction. So let's have a little wrap-up look at the deck list, and I think I'm pretty happy with every single card here. Everything's doing what it needs to. The roles are being played well. The deck's curving out as it needs to. It's maintaining tempo. It's, you know, the hypothesized game plan is working out. It's all coming to fruition. So there's nothing I would really change. There are certainly some things you can play though, if you want to sort of switch things up or you've got different preferences. You could always go up to 4 copies of Rafiki if you want that early interaction, or if you're finding that you are facing a lot of pressure from things like locations where you have to be able to challenge in for a lot early on. You can switch things out and play Snake if you want. If you want that more classic bounce package, you can play Madam Mim Snake. I've cut it, but you know, it's certainly viable here, and there are nice lines as well with the 2-drop Ursula with that. And there's also a suite of higher cost cards you can play. When it comes to removal, our options are pretty limited in Emerald Amethyst, but you can add cards like Isma, or you could go up on cards like Genie, just so you have more of those big curve toppers that also remove an opposing threat, and have other applications as well. They can help you achieve other things in the case of Yzma. But yeah, on the whole, really happy with it. And I just want to say special thank you to Artabax, who has been doing a lot of development on this list as well, and really helping to challenge my thinking on a lot of the cards. So if you're not familiar with him already, certainly go check out his channel, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. If you're interested in Amethyst Emerald Tempo, probably one of the best people you could be following. So yeah, just keep an eye out, and I'll keep bringing you different lists and giving you the rationale for them. But this is one that I'm going to try and stick to a little bit. I do believe in the potential of this deck, so maybe you'll see some more of it soon. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, if you enjoyed it, please subscribe, please give this a like, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Thank you.